And today on the playlist, one thing can definitely make you feel old. Things you remember from your childhood reaching major milestones. Hadi Jamal checks out some legendary albums turning 50 this year.
The 1970s were a special time in music. And believe it or not, every classic album from the 1970s has or will turn 50 this decade.
The songwriting was unbelievable, and it was at a time where your standards had to be high.
For George Stroumboulopoulos, host of Apple Music Strombo, as he's better known, they're just as fresh now as they were back then.
Every single one of the records that we're talking about today has the kind of song or songs on them that are bona fide smashes. You'll hear them, even if you don't know the band, you know them.
We picked Strombo's brain about 3 highly influential albums from 1973 that are turning the Big 5-0 in 2023. Starting with Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon.
For the amount of time it spent on the charts, it's an unprecedented album. The more you go back to Dark Side of the Moon, the more you hear and experience 4 people who had a relationship with genius at that time.
No album has spent longer on the Billboard charts than Dark Side of the Moon. 15 years.
You were also hearing sounds that you hadn't heard before. And I think that if you have a whole bunch of kids around the world putting Dark Side of the Moon out at the same time, their brains are blown.
The British rocker's best-selling album has a big 50th anniversary box set due for release March 24th. Another album hitting the 50-year milestone is Stevie Wonder's Inner Visions, which Strumbo says might be the most important album of 1973. It became an international hit, as evidenced by his performance on VH1's Live in London.
It's an evolution for Stevie. This is the new kind of soul music. We don't have to just sing about love and loss and the church. We're going somewhere else. And I felt like Inner Visions kind of kicked off the decade in that respect musically. It's an incredibly significant album.
Elton John's Goodbye Yellow Brick Road is Strumbo's final choice, noting its progressive significance amid pop success.
It's a pop record that doesn't feel like a simple pop record. I mean, how long is the first song, Funeral for a Friend, like 11 minutes? You know, that's what starts the album. But in that 70s run, you needed the space to be weird, because I actually think that's how you built your relationship with your audience. Everybody could like the single, but your umbilical cord to them is when the artist was really pushing themselves.
We're vibing to those iconic 70s jams on the playlist.